Deterrents and incentives. Some assume that if not for government, crooks would be free to do as they please without any repercussions. Again, this shows a profound misunderstanding of human nature and of what government is. In truth, the belief in authority adds nothing to the effectiveness of any system of defense and protection. People who use aggression against others, such as assault, theft, and murder, obviously are not restrained by their own morality or respect for the self-ownership of their victims. However, they may choose not to commit a particular crime if they imagine a risk of harm to themselves. That is called deterrent. And deterrents, by definition, do not depend upon appealing to the conscience of the attacker, but instead make use of the attacker's instinct for self-preservation. To put it bluntly, the message which works on true criminals is not, "Do not do that because it is wrong." The message is, "Do not do that or you will get hurt." The supposed moral righteousness or authority of the threat against a would-be aggressor is irrelevant to the effectiveness of the deterrent. Whether it is a police officer, a dog, an angry homeowner, or even another thief, the only question in the attacker's mind is whether he is likely to suffer pain or death if he attempts to rob or attack someone. Deterrents to other types of bad behavior, which are not so severe or blatant as theft or assault, also do not require authority. Some assert that without government inspectors and regulators, every business would be putting out shoddy, dangerous products. But such a claim is, again, based upon a profound misunderstanding of human nature and economics. No matter how greedy or selfish a businessman may be, he cannot be successful in the long run if he sells products which do not please his customers. Someone who knowingly sells a defective product or tainted food will have few, if any, customers. The many highly expensive recalls which many companies voluntarily carry out, even for relatively trivial defects or problems, attest to this fact. Unlike in the current situation in which the power of government is used to prop up and protect irresponsible and destructive corporations, in a truly free market, with informed consumers and open competition, corruption and crime would not pay, and businesses would be unable to insulate themselves from the consequences of their irresponsibility. Government inspectors and regulators are driven by the incentive to impose fines on people and to enforce laws and regulations regardless of whether they make any sense. In contrast, a system of private inspectors, which answers only to the people who want to know what is safe and which has no enforcement power, has no incentive to interfere with business or to make up things to complain about. Businesses could voluntarily invite private reviews of their product or facilities, such as is already done by Underwriters Laboratories, UL, Customer Reports, and others, in order to be able to show the public an unbiased opinion of how safe and reliable their products are. Many companies who do this today, on top of having to jump through all of the bureaucratic hoops which governments put in their way, many other matters could be handled in similar non-authoritarian ways. Private building inspectors, already used by many realty companies, would have the job of determining on behalf of potential buyers how safe and sound a building is. In addition to private inspectors, restaurants could simply invite potential customers to examine their facilities themselves. All of these actions would be voluntary. A business could choose not to follow any inspectors. Any potential consumers could choose whether or not to patronize that business. In fact, the fact that so many things are assumed to be problems for authority to handle is a sign of intellectual laziness. Customers want quality products, and businessmen who want to be successful must provide quality products. It is in the interest of both, therefore, to be able to objectively demonstrate the quality of the products being offered. Contrary to the stereotype of the evil, greedy, profiteering businessman, the way to become rich in a free society is by providing products and services which actually benefit the customer. Almost all of the dishonest schemes that are profitable in the long term are those that are forcibly created or endorsed by government, such as the fractional banking scam, the legal counterfeiting scam called monetary policy, the litigation racket, and so on. Even without government, there could occasionally be serious conflicts. For example, suppose that a factory was dumping toxic waste into a river, killing all the fish downstream on the property of others, which would constitute a form of trespass and property destruction. The absence of authority would not preclude the victims from doing anything about it. In fact, it may make it easier for them to do something about it. Instead of suing in a government court where the judge can be bribed into supporting the billion-dollar business, the response might be something more effective, even if it appears less civilized. The people who live on the river may do something as simple as telling the factory owner that if he keeps allowing his pollution to flow into their properties, they will physically destroy his factory. Obviously, there may be more polite, peaceful ways the problem can be solved, such as boycotts or publicizing the wrongdoing. Either way, the people can create an effective deterrent to improper behavior, especially when there is no government involved that can be paid off and corrupted. Many campaign contributions now amount to little more than bribes to have government regulators look the other way. Likewise, government courts can easily find reasons to dismiss almost any lawsuit, thereby allowing wealthy criminals, the kind with real victims, to prosper. The cliché of the greedy, evil businessman often omits the fact that large-scale crimes are usually done with the cooperation of government officials. Without protection from government, even the most greedy, heartless businessman would have a huge incentive to not anger his customers to the point where they stop buying his products or to the point where they react violently against him. Most people, most of the time, would be reluctant to use force, knowing that they alone would bear both the responsibility and the risks of doing so. There would be a huge incentive to settle disputes and disagreements peacefully and by mutual agreement. When the belief in government is prevalent, on the other hand, there's no incentive to settle things peacefully because winning the political battle poses no risk to those who advocate violence via government. Without a ruling class to whine to legislatively impose some central agenda on everyone, people will be forced to deal with each other as rational adults instead of whiny, irresponsible children. People would be far better served by attempts at cooperation and peaceful compromise than they are by fighting over who can get hold of the sword of government. When bullying and aggression are no longer recognized as legitimate forms of human interaction, human beings will, out of necessity, learn to play nice.